Hello everyone and welcome to our second episode of Health Talk Dr.O right here on FS Online channel. So today we're going to talk about something very controversial, and that is the smoking of Hubbly Bubbly. And I have a guest today, Dr. Patty from Blooming Hospital, who's going to help me tackle this discussion. So welcome to Dr.O Health Talk.
Thank you, Dr.O.
Yeah.
I'm Patricia. I'm working here in Bloemfontein at Blooming Hospital.
Okay, well, welcome from Dr.O Health Talk. So listen, we talk about Hubbly Bubbly, the smoking of hookah pipes and Hubbly Bubbly, no matter what you call it. Do you understand? So before we start, somebody might be sitting at home and trying to figure out what is Hubbly Bubbly or smoking hookah pipe. What is it? I know the device, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think this is a very interesting conversation because our parents, when they see that Hubbly device, they think it's drugs.
Yes.
But our peers, when they see the device, they think, oh, it's a good time.
Yes.
So basically, whether you call it a water pipe, Hubbly Bubbly, or just Oka, or whatever you call it, it's basically that device which has a container at the bottom.
The bottle.
Which has the bottle with water.
Different shapes.
And then it has, depending on the length, but it has a middle part, and then there's flavor somewhere, and then there's a foil with holes, and then there's the charcoal on top.
Yes.
And then it has a number of pipes, depending on whether it's a single, a double, or triple pipe. And then that is where you smoke out of. So essentially the idea is that the charcoal burns the flavor, but it passes through the water before you inhale the smoke.
Okay, good. So now let's talk about the contents of the hookah pipe. So basically you have the bottle which you pour water inside, and then you have the tobacco. The tobacco's got different flavors. You have and people smoke different flavors depending on what they like, do you understand? And then you have the charcoal, which is on top to burn the charcoal, and then you smoke. And the idea is that you smoke the tobacco which is passed through the water. And then somehow, interestingly enough, the inventor of hookah pipe or Hubbly is actually a physician from India, long time ago, who thought that if you smoke the tobacco which went through the water, it will actually somehow decrease the toxins which enter your body, and which is actually what the myth that goes around amongst young people. Because if you go now to clubs, to parties, social gatherings with young people, there's always Hubbly. It's like there's no mqimbi without a Hubbly.
I think I understand the logic, because from an average person, if you're smoking a cigarette or if you're smoking weed, there's no filter.
Yes.
And so the water sounds like logically it could be a filter. But I think the problem is then, which we'll go into later, how long and how much do you smoke? Yeah,
exposure.
How much are you exposed to? So even if in one puff there's less tobacco than one puff of a cigarette.
Yes.
But how many puffs of a cigarette do you have compared to how many puffs of the Hubbly do you have?
Yes.
And I think that is where the problem is.
It is, because amongst young people, like I said, there's a myth of if you smoke Hubbly, is a lesser harmful alternative towards smoking cigarette, which is not true, because tobacco, whether it's flavored, still has.
It's still tobacco.
It's still carcinogen. Okay, now let's talk about now the harmful effects Hubbly can have on your body, because we know that it's from tobacco, and plus the charcoal has got toxins within the charcoal. So let's start with tobacco. Tobacco has got carcinogens, which means it has things that can cause cancer.
All types of cancer.
All
Not
types
just
of cancer.
lung cancer, as a lot of people believe. Remember that whenever you inhale or you smoke something, it first passes the esophagus. So we see a lot of esophagus cancer before the lung cancer.
The mouth, that's like the mouth, just the mouth.
Actually.
Yes.
And then you get the lungs, but then also you get bladder cancer.
Yes.
You get a carcinogen. Remember that whatever you smoke goes into your bloodstream.
Yes.
It's not just about the smoke itself.
Yes.
The smoke itself has harmful effects.
Yes.
But the actual toxin that you are smoking can cause cancer. Lots of different types of cancer. Yeah. And then outside of the tobacco, there's still the fact that it's a large amount of smoke.
Yes.
And it is constant exposure, even if it's secondhand smoke.
Yes.
That you're being exposed to. And this obviously changes the structure of the lungs. It affects the function of the epithelium. So before you even get to cancer stage, you're getting pneumonia, you're getting lung infection, you're getting COPD, you're getting all sorts of things before you get to cancer.
Yes.
But people overlook this.
Yeah,
because they're just
there's
like,
some
"No,
people
it's
because
safer."
they're scared of cancer. But then before you get to because cancer is a very late stage and depends on the
Yes.
exposure that you got in your body from these toxins. But then before you get to cancer, if somebody has got prolonged exposure to smoking Hubbly, exposing themselves to the tobacco, to the toxins in the charcoal, you expose yourself to lung infection, like you said, repeated infections of pneumonia or COPD, which means your lungs, the function of your lungs decreases significantly if you expose yourself for a very long time. And I must stress that people are different. So which means you might smoke Hubbly every day for 20 years and nothing happens to you.
Yes.
I might smoke Hubbly twice a week for 5 weeks and then something happens to me. So people respond differently to Hubbly. So don't compare yourself to another person.
And it's the same as cigarettes. I mean, there are people who smoke cigarettes religiously, and they will always say, my grandfather smoked every day from the time he was 18 till the time he was 70, and nothing ever happened.
Yes.
And then you get people who smoked for 2 years, they start getting recurrent infections, they got all sorts of funny lung things, later they develop COPD, and they don't understand. And that is the thing, our bodies are not the same.
So now we move on to the charcoal. Charcoal, it's like coal. Yeah, smoke. It releases carbon monoxide.
Yes.
Irritants can become irritable. There's been people who smoke Hubbly, they say, listen, I coughed for so many days after I smoked Hubbly. I choked. The first time I tried to, after I did it once, and I choked and I coughed for a long time. Some people can say, well, the people in there were just coughing. So it's an irritant, can cause coughing, and also prolonged exposure of carbon monoxide from the charcoal can also lead to damage to your lungs over time.
And this is again where we have to look at in our society.
Yes.
Hubbly is a group assignment. So there's one Hubbly pipe, but there's 10 of us around it.
Yes.
Regardless of how much you actually smoked, the person smoking next to you, there's still all these toxins that are coming from the charcoal itself.
Yeah.
And people are very aware that with cigarette smoking, secondhand smoke is a real thing.
Yes.
But with Hubbly, they seem to forget that this is still charcoal.
Yes.
And this is still dangerous, and this is still irritating for your lungs and your whole breathing system, your respiratory system is affected by this charcoal.
That's very important because I don't smoke Hubbly, but I hang out with people who smoke Hubbly, and usually it's at the clubs and stuff. So there's usually a one table, and then there's one Hubbly device, and then there's like 4 pipes. But those people are busy huffing and puffing. They're taking out these smokes. They can spell out my name with the smokes. They can, but I'm busy somehow.
Actually,
secondarily, Dr.O, they can do the O's. But then somehow I am also somehow at risk, even though I'm not directly involved with the Hubbly smoking, but as a passive smoker, someone who's there, present in the Hubbly environment, I'm also somehow exposing myself to these carcinogens or these toxins from the charcoal and the tobacco because I'm right there in a confined environment.
And one thing I will say, and by no means do not take this as me advocating for cigarette smoking over Hubbly smoking, but what I will say is, because there was a lot of health education done on how toxic cigarette smoking is, a cigarette smoker generally knows that this is toxic. So they tend to stand outside, away from the children, away from non-smokers. They go outside, they smoke, then they come back.
The smoking section.
There's generally either a smoking section or they go outside completely. But Hubbly, because we've convinced ourselves that Hubbly is not toxic, you find people who will smoke in their house with their kids, and their logic is, but this is not harmful. It's just water smoke. And that for me is the bigger problem, that if you do not recognize that there are risks associated with Hubbly, you tend to put other people at risk. Nobody ever takes their pipe and goes to smoke outside and comes back. They leave it right here on the kitchen counter. And if you are around, you're just breathing in the same thing the whole time.
And the other thing is that because you mentioned that the device can be like a dual or a triple or a quadruple pipes, there's a risk of somehow transmitting communicable diseases. Like, for example, let's say you flu. If let's say you have flu and then you're smoking Hubbly, and I also joining in the smoking Hubbly, because it can be transmitted via your saliva droplets. If I suck on the same pipe that you sucked on, I can transmit the flu.
Exactly. And what happens is, a lot of times, especially if it's not your own device, if you go to a club or an event and it's a 2-pipe, but there's 6 of you, obviously the 2 of us can have separate pipes, but then I'm sharing with 2 other people, he's sharing with 2 other people. And what you forget is, apart from flu and TB, there's cold sores.
Yes, herpes type 1.
There's a lot of things that we are always wary of. That's why we don't go around just kissing strangers.
Yes.
But then we share the same Hubbly pipe. And I know that in some clubs they give you that device that you can put on top of the pipe itself. And then everybody keeps their own.
Yeah.
But if we are very honest, I've noticed people do not change those things. So I'm still smoking with my stopper device thing, and then I pass it on to someone else.
And to be honest, most of the time when we smoke Hubbly, people are tipsy. They're under the influence of alcohol, so you just pass it on, and you don't know whether you're putting yourself at risk. And if it doesn't happen to you, doesn't mean that it cannot happen to you. Yeah. The other thing is the nicotine, right? So a lot of people don't think that you can be addicted to Hubbly, which is not true. So
it's a chat we were having earlier that when you live in a society, and so from psychiatry, when we judge what is normal and abnormal, you take it according to your cultural practice.
Yes.
So unfortunately, as young people, Hubbly is so ingrained in our culture that none of my friends will stop me if I'm smoking Hubbly every day for 4 hours at a time.
Yes.
And so
I think it's normal.
It's so normal. It's part of our get-togethers. It's part of our sessions. You never start to think, I might be addicted. And the only time you realize you're addicted is when you're now at an event where Hubbly is not allowed, or you're with elders who don't understand and don't want this Hubbly, and you start feeling like you can't function.
Yes.
You start getting tremors, you start feeling depressed, you're just not yourself.
That's when you know you are addicted to Hubbly, because if you cannot function without smoking Hubbly, that's when you know you are addicted to Hubbly. So just now, in conclusion, we're not going to advocate what people should do or not do. We're just providing information. So smoking Hubbly, because it involves tobacco, whether flavored or not, involves charcoal, it can put you at increased risk of cancers, your lung cancer, your oral cancer, your respiratory infections, repeated ones. Do you understand? Lung problems. Do you understand? People end up in the ICU. Some people end up dead because of issues with the lungs, second over to Hubbly. And it also can lead to addiction. People become addicted to Hubbly for a very long time. So we're not going to tell you what to do or what not to do. We're just providing information, and you have the right to decide what you want to do with your life.
I think for me, one of the bigger things, which if we leave the session having said nothing, I would like to leave with this. People who drink alcohol are aware of the dangers of alcohol.
Yes.
That is why when you know you're going out to drink, you either limit yourself, or you ask a friend to pick you up, drop you off. You make sure that your kids don't get a hold of your alcohol. There are certain steps you take because you know you're partaking in a risky practice. Yeah. And when you smoke cigarettes as well, you won't smoke in front of your kids, you won't smoke in front of people who have asthma, you won't smoke in front of people with weak immune systems or whatever. So my take-home message is, when you smoke your Hubbly, do not lie to yourself and to the people around you that you're partaking in a very innocent thing.
Harmless thing.
Be aware that there are risks, and then you can make decisions accordingly. So if you live alone, there are no kids, you want to smoke by yourself, that's fine. But if you have kids in the house, keep that in mind, that if you would not smoke cigarettes in front of your kids, why would you smoke Hubbly? And one of the big things that we need to remember is people who smoke Hubbly tend to smoke about 4 hours at a time.
Yeah.
When the flavor is finished, you top up the flavor, you top up the flavor. People who smoke cigarettes might smoke 1 or 2 or 3 in the same period of time.
Yes.
So you're talking about a prolonged exposure. To yourself and those around you. So before you do that and tell people around you it's harmless, just think of who is around you and the fact that they might also not know that this is a harmful substance.
Yes, I think that's very good. That's a very good note and point to close on. So thank you very much for watching the second episode of Health to Dr.O, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.
Bye guys.